All right, so in this training today, we're going to be talking about muscle maximization and momentum, so triple M. And what this is all about is building muscle in the fastest, most effective, safest way possible so that you're building muscle in a way that is sustainable with longevity, okay? And that's what MMM is all about. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today is how to build muscle, the process of building muscle, what it's called, and I'm going to give you a specific protocol and some examples that are going to allow you to be able to know exactly what I'm talking about and take this technical jargon and convert it into practical knowledge that you're going to implement, okay? So the first question is, how do you build muscle, right? How is muscle built? So muscle is built by putting a resistance, okay, also called a load, right? Load is the amount of resistance, right? Plus time. So how long is that muscle under resistance for, right? It's the time component. Those two things put together is going to cause muscle fiber breakdown and damage. The body is going to repair those muscles that were damaged. The repaired muscles are then going to increase in size and thickness to create a larger muscle, and this adaptation is called hypertrophy. Okay, so resistance plus time equals hypertrophy. All right, so it's gonna increase the muscle fibers, and in some cases it's gonna also increase in number. Okay, so that's how you build muscle, and there's different kinds of resistance. Okay, so there could be bands, body weight, machines, anything, any movement that puts tension on a muscle for a sustainable amount of time is a form of resistance. Okay. So the next component is how much time is that muscle under tension in that specific movement pattern, okay? So the longer it's under tension for, the more resistance, the more muscle breakdown you're going to cause, the more hypertrophy you're going to get, okay? So that's the process of building muscle, okay? So what that means is that the goal of a workout and of an exercise is hypertrophy, and the goal is not to lift it as fast as possible or lift it as heavy as possible. Okay, the goal is hypertrophy. The goal is to build muscle. The more muscle you have, you end up being stronger after it's repaired in the long run. Okay, if you go in there and try to lift as heavy as possible or as fast as possible, you're going to cause more damage on your joints and you're going to build less muscle, possibly not at all, because the process of building muscle has nothing to do with how heavy you can go. Eventually you will create progressive overload and you'll lift heavier, but it also has nothing to do with how fast you can move it, right? If you're an athlete, you want to be able to move fast, but building muscle is going to allow you to eventually move things faster, okay? So building muscle is the epicenter of athletic performance, whether it's speed, whether it's endurance, whether it's strength, okay? Building muscle is the epicenter, which means that hypertrophy, the process of building muscle, is the goal. So, like I said, load is another form of resistance. It's the amount of resistance that's on the muscle, right? You could have 0, pound load, which is body weight, or you could have 100-pound load, which would be 100 pounds of whatever the resistance form is on the muscle. Okay, the reps have a is a area of time, right? Because it's the time that you're going to perform that. It's the repetitions that you're going to perform that movement pattern, right? So it's going to create more time. If you do it 5 times, it's half the time as if you did it for 10 times, right? So it's a form of time, but it's the number of each exercise that's going to be executed. Okay. Now tempo is the specific component of time for each repetition. Okay, that's the actual component here that's going to control the time of each rep, right? And then you add that time times the number of reps. Okay, so the tempo is what you're talking about here, and I'm going to break it down for you into a practical way that's easier to think about. Okay, so now the next question then is, well, how long do we need to do this time thing for, and how many reps do we need to do it for? First, let me just kind of break it down into the goal here is progressive overload. Okay, so you're going to put when it says load on the screen, I want you to think reps, load, or time. Okay, so you're going to increase something, right? So you're going to increase the load, reps, or time. That's an adaptation. I'm sorry, then your body's going to adapt. So you'll be at a higher level, right? You're going to climb the ladder. So then you'll have to increase the load, time, or reps. That's going to create another adaptation. Your body will be a little bit stronger. Then you have to increase the load, time, or reps again. Okay, so that's kind of the ladder. And progressive overload is how you make that happen. Progressive meaning you increase it, and overload is you're trying to do more than what your body currently can do so it can adapt and grow stronger, and we're going to increase the load. Okay, so we're trying to increase anything that you can, whether it's reps, load, or time. Okay, and that will allow you to get stronger, adapt to that change, and you'll be stronger for the next session, workout. Okay, so how do we do this, right? How do we implement this resistance and time factor? So the most important thing, and what we're going to talk about today, is the MMM protocol. Okay, this has to do with the momentum of the reps that you're doing. Okay, so it's the movement, repetition, tempo. Okay, so what it has to do with is, let's say you're doing a bicep curl. Okay, as you lower the weight, okay, actually let's start with, as you raise the weight, okay, that's the concentric part of the motion, right? You're shortening the muscle. You're going to do that for 4 seconds, okay? As you get to the top of the movement pattern, you're in an isometric, shortened position, okay? You're gonna hold that for 1 to 2 seconds, okay? And then as you lower the weight, that's gonna be eccentric. You're gonna lower it for 4 to 6 seconds, okay? So 4, 1, 4, 0, and when you get to the bottom of the motion, the muscle's extended, right? Isometric again. You're gonna hold that for 0 to 1 second and then repeat this, okay? So 4, 1, 4, 0 is the MMM protocol, okay? Now the range is gonna be between 4 and 6, the more the better, right? So 4 and 6 seconds is good for the concentric, 1 to 2 is good for the isometric at the top, bottom of the motion, and then 4 is good for the eccentric, and then 0 is good, 1 is good for pause. So you can, between 4 and 6 on the 4s, 1 to 2 on that 1, and then 0 to 1 on the 0. Okay, so, and you're gonna apply this to every movement pattern that you do. So I want you to think of this way. If the goal is to get stronger and to build muscle, then you want to implement this MMM protocol, okay? Muscle maximization momentum. Okay, it's the momentum of which you perform each repetition. So you're gonna apply this to everything, okay? Now, what this also does is, not only in addition to ensuring that you are building muscle in the most effective way possible, it allows you to really control the way that you're performing every single movement pattern in a way that you will not get injured, because when you slow things down, you're more thoughtful and concentrated and in control of each movement, okay? So you have less chance of damaging joints, less pressures on the joints, and more pressures on the muscle, okay? So it happens to be the safest way. So it is the way to build muscle and build a body that's built to last, okay? So let's go over kind of an example of how to implement this. So with this MMM protocol, we're between 4 and 6, 4 and 6. So what we're gonna do is, on the way down of a barbell bench press, right? That's the eccentric. So we're gonna lower the weights for 4 to 6 seconds. Okay, so we're over here. And then when we get to the bottom, we're over here, isometrically holding it for 1 to 2 seconds, right? Chest, triceps, shoulders activated. Then we're gonna start to do the concentric, which is to lengthen the muscles. So we're gonna push it up for 4 to 6 seconds. So slow and controlled as well. When we get to the top, we're back into an isometric tension, which means it's not moving. We're gonna hold it between 0 and 1 second, which means that basically as soon as you get to the top, boom, you're back down to lowering the weight again. Okay, and you're gonna perform that right there. The whole thing is 1 repetition. Okay, so if you're doing 10 reps, you would go through each of those stages 10 times, okay? So that's the MMM protocol. So let's go to one more example. So let's do a pull-up. So if we're starting at the bottom on a pull-up, right? So it's kind of like the opposite, but it's same concept, just the opposite. So on a pull-up, we're starting at the bottom. So you're in a lengthened position. You're gonna pull up in the concentric for 4 to 6 seconds. So as you're pulling up, you're pulling, getting to the top of the bar. Once you get to the top, you're gonna hold that top position for 1 to 2 seconds or longer. Then you're gonna really squeeze the muscle right at the top as much as you can. Then you're gonna start to lower yourself down for 4 to 6 seconds, going really slow. This is the eccentric again, right? Going down. And then at the bottom, this is where you're gonna immediately, as soon as you get to the bottom, boom, you're back up to the pull-up again. So between 0 and 1 seconds at the bottom, all right? So all of that is 1 repetition. And so basically this tempo, right, this MMM protocol for performing each repetition is, you're gonna apply this for every single movement pattern most of the time, okay? So not every single situation does it require this long of repetitions, especially if the goal isn't to build muscle, right? But in most situations, you're gonna apply this tempo, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit greater in length, okay? But this is gonna be the standard protocol that you'll be performing and executing every single exercise that you do for the most part. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to help. But I hope you learned a lot and learned how to execute all of your workouts.